We will publish the biography of the candidate for President of the United States of America, Ron DeSantis. Part 1. Ronald Dion DeSantis, born September 14, 1978, is an American politician serving since 2019 as the 46th governor of Florida. A member of the Republican Party, he served as the U.S. Representative from Florida's 6th Congressional District from 2013 to 2018. DeSantis was a candidate for the 2024 Republican presidential nomination, withdrawing his candidacy in January 2024. Born in Jacksonville, DeSantis spent most of his childhood in Dunedin, Florida. He graduated from Yale University and Harvard Law School. DeSantis joined the U.S. Navy in 2004 and was promoted to lieutenant before serving as a legal advisor to SEAL Team 1. He was stationed at Joint Task Force Guantanamo in 2006 and was deployed to Iraq in 2007. When DeSantis returned to the U.S. about 8 months later, the U.S. Attorney General appointed DeSantis to serve as a Special Assistant U.S. Attorney at the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Middle District of Florida, a position he held until his honorable discharge from active military duty in 2010. DeSantis was first elected to Congress in 2012 and was re-elected in 2014 and 2016. During his tenure, he became a founding member of the Freedom Caucus and was an ally of President Donald Trump. He briefly ran for U.S. Senate in 2016 but withdrew when incumbent Senator Marco Rubio sought re-election. DeSantis won the Republican nomination for the 2018 gubernatorial election and narrowly defeated the Democratic Party nominee, Tallahassee Mayor Andrew Gillum, in the general election by 0.4%. DeSantis was governor during the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as during Hurricane Ian and Hurricane Nicole. He encouraged the passage of the Parental Rights in Education Act. In the 2022 gubernatorial election, he defeated former Governor Charlie Crist by 19.4 percentage points, the state's largest margin of victory for a governor's election in 40 years. On May 24, 2023, DeSantis announced his candidacy for the Republican nomination for President of the United States, and he continued to serve as governor during the campaign. On January 21, 2024, DeSantis withdrew his presidential candidacy and endorsed Trump. DeSantis has written 2 books, Dreams from Our Founding Fathers, published before his first campaign for Congress in 2011, and The Courage to Be Free, published in 2023. Ronald Dion DeSantis was born on September 14, 1978, in Jacksonville, Florida, to parents Karen DeSantis, née Rogers, and Ronald Daniel DeSantis. His middle name, Dion, honors the singer Dion DeMucci, and his family name has different pronunciations. His mother's family name, Rogers, was chosen by her grandfather, née Ruggiero, upon immigrating from Italy. All of DeSantis's great-grandparents immigrated from southern Italy during the first Italian diaspora. His parents and all of his grandparents were born and grew up in western Pennsylvania and northeast Ohio. DeSantis's mother worked as a nurse and his father installed Nielsen TV rating boxes. They met while attending Youngstown State University in Youngstown, Ohio, during the 1970s and moved to Jacksonville, Florida, during that decade. His family then moved to Orlando, Florida, before relocating when he was 6 years old to the city of Dunedin in Florida's Tampa Bay area. His only sibling, younger sister Christina, died in 2015 at age 30 from a pulmonary embolism. He was a member of the Dunedin national team that made it to the 1991 Little League World Series in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. DeSantis attended Our Lady of Lourdes Catholic School and Dunedin High School, graduating in 1997. After high school, DeSantis studied history at Yale University. He was captain of Yale's varsity baseball team. He played outfield, and as a senior in 2001 he had the team's best batting average at .336. DeSantis was a member of the Delta Kappa Epsilon fraternity and of the St. Elmo Society, one of Yale's secret societies. While attending Yale, he worked a variety of jobs, including as an electrician's assistant and a coach at a baseball camp. DeSantis graduated from Yale in 2001 with a B.A., magna cum laude. After Yale, DeSantis taught history and coached for a year at Darlington School in Georgia, then attended Harvard Law School, graduating in 2005 with a Juris Doctor, cum laude. At Harvard, he was business manager for the Harvard Journal of Law and Public Policy. In 2004, during his second year at Harvard Law, DeSantis was commissioned as an officer in the U.S. Navy and assigned to the Navy Judge Advocate General's Corps, JAG. He completed Naval Justice School in 2005. Later that year, he reported to the JAG Trial Service Office Command Southeast at Naval Station Mayport, Florida, as a prosecutor. He was promoted from lieutenant, junior grade to lieutenant in 2006. In the spring of 2006, DeSantis arrived at Joint Task Force Guantanamo, JTF-GTMO, working with detainees at the Guantanamo Bay Detention Camp. The publicly released records of his service in the Navy were redacted, with the Navy citing a personal privacy exception to the Freedom of Information Act. Mansour Ahmad Saad al-Dafai, who was held at Guantanamo, alleged in 2022 that DeSantis oversaw force-feeding detainees, and DeSantis acknowledged that he advised the commander of the base about the use of force-feeding. In 2007, DeSantis reported to the Naval Special Warfare Command Group in Coronado, California, where he was assigned as a legal advisor to SEAL Team 1. He deployed to Iraq in the fall of 2007 as part of the troop surge. He served as legal advisor to Dane Thorleifson, the SEAL commander of the Special Operations Task Force West in Fallujah. DeSantis returned to the U.S. in April 2008, reassigned to the Naval Region's Southeast Legal Service. He was appointed to serve as a Special Assistant U.S. Attorney at the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Middle District of Florida. DeSantis was assigned as a trial defense counsel until his honorable discharge from active duty in February 2010. He concurrently accepted a reserve commission as a lieutenant in the Judge Advocate General's Corps of the U.S. Navy Reserve. During his military career, DeSantis was awarded the Bronze Star Medal, the Navy and Marine Corps Commendation Medal, the Global War on Terrorism Service Medal, and the Iraq Campaign Medal. His Navy Reserve service ended in February 2019, a month after his gubernatorial inauguration, with the rank of lieutenant commander. With two law school friends, DeSantis founded an LSAT test prep company, LSAT Freedom, that one of the other co-founders billed as the only LSAT prep courses designed exclusively by Harvard Law School graduates. DeSantis also worked as a litigator at the Miami-based law firm Holland & Knight before running for Congress in 2012. In 2012, DeSantis ran for the U.S. House of Representatives from Florida's 6th Congressional District. During his campaign, he aligned himself with the conservative Tea Party movement. His campaign was financially supported by the Koch brothers' organizations Freedom Works and Club for Growth. U.S. Senator Mike Lee and former United Nations Ambassador John Bolton helped DeSantis campaign and raise money. In August, DeSantis defeated 6 candidates in the Republican primary and then defeated Democratic nominee Heather Bevan in the November general election. He was re-elected in 2014 and 2016. In May 2015, DeSantis announced his candidacy for the 2016 United States Senate election in Florida. He ran for the seat held by Marco Rubio, who initially did not file to run for re-election due to his 2016 presidential campaign. DeSantis was endorsed by the Koch brothers' fiscally conservative Club for Growth, which had previously supported his U.S. House campaign. When Rubio ended his presidential bid and ran for re-election to the Senate, DeSantis withdrew from the Senate race, instead running for re-election to the House. DeSantis signed a 2013 no climate tax pledge against any tax hikes to fight global warming. He voted in favor of H.R. 45, which would have repealed the Affordable Care Act in 2013. DeSantis introduced a bill in 2014 that would have required the Justice Department to report to Congress whenever any federal agency refrained from enforcing laws. In 2015, DeSantis was a founding member of the Freedom Caucus, a group of congressional conservatives and libertarians. DeSantis opposes gun control and received repeated A ratings from the NRA Political Victory Fund. He has said, "Very rarely do firearms restrictions affect criminals. They really only affect law-abiding citizens." DeSantis was a critic of Obama's immigration policies, including deferred action legislation, DACA and DAPA, accusing Obama of failing to enforce immigration laws. In 2015 he co-sponsored Kate's Law, which would have increased penalties for aliens who unlawfully re-enter the U.S. after being removed. DeSantis encouraged Florida sheriffs to cooperate with the federal government on immigration-related issues. In 2016, DeSantis introduced the Higher Education Reform and Opportunity Act, which would have allowed states to create their own accreditation systems. He said this legislation would also give students access to federal loan money to put towards non-traditional educational opportunities, such as online learning courses, vocational schools, and apprenticeships in skilled trades. In 2016, DeSantis received a 0 rating from the Human Rights Campaign on LGBT-related legislation. 2 years later, he told the Sun-Sentinel that he doesn't want any discrimination in Florida. "I want people to be able to live their life, whether you're gay or whether you're religious." DeSantis was present before the June 2017 congressional baseball shooting, and the perpetrator asked him whether the players were Republicans. Later that summer, DeSantis proposed legislation that would have ended funding by November of that year for the Mueller investigation of President Trump. He said that the May 17, 2017, order that initiated the probe didn't identify a crime to be investigated and was likely to start a fishing expedition. DeSantis supports a constitutional amendment to impose term limits on members of Congress, so that U.S. representatives would be limited to 3 terms and senators to 2. He served 3 terms in the House of Representatives, retiring in 2018 to run for governor of Florida. DeSantis said that the debate over how to reduce the federal deficit should shift emphasis from tax increases to curtailing spending and triggering economic growth. He is a past supporter of replacing the federal income tax and the IRS with a federal sales tax called the fair tax, by co-sponsoring legislation to do so as a U.S. representative. He supported a no-budget, no-paid policy for Congress to encourage passage of a budget resolution. DeSantis endorsed the REINS Act, which would have required that regulations significantly affecting the economy be subject to a vote of Congress before taking effect. He also supported auditing the Federal Reserve System. DeSantis supported the 2014 Venezuelan protests, calling them peaceful and a result of Venezuela's socialist economic policy. He heavily criticized the Venezuelan government's response to the protests, saying its actions resembled techniques used by Cuban leader Fidel Castro. For alleged IRS targeting of conservatives, DeSantis asked for IRS Commissioner John Koskinen's resignation for having failed the American people by frustrating Congress's attempts to ascertain the truth. He co-sponsored a bill to impeach Koskinen for violating the public's trust. DeSantis criticized IRS employee Lois Lerner and asked that she testify to Congress. In 2014, DeSantis introduced the Let Seniors Work Act, the companion of a similar bill introduced by Marco Rubio in the Senate. The bill would have repealed an incentive to retire instead of keep working and would have exempted those above 65 from the 12.4% Social Security payroll tax. He also co-sponsored a measure to eliminate taxes on Social Security benefits. According to PolitiFact, it is half true that DeSantis voted to cut Social Security and Medicare and voted to increase the retirement age, because those votes were on non-binding resolutions that would not have become law even if passed, and because the objective was to stabilize those social programs to avoid steeper cuts later. Conservative think tank Citizens Against Government Waste named DeSantis a taxpayer superhero in 2015. DeSantis sponsored the Transportation Empowerment Act, which would have transferred much of the responsibility for transportation projects to the states and sharply reduced the federal gas tax. He opposed legislation to require online retailers to collect and pay state sales tax. He voted for the 2017 Trump tax cuts. DeSantis opted not to receive his congressional pension, and filed a measure that would eliminate pensions for members of Congress. During the 114th United States Congress, DeSantis served on the Committee on Oversight and Accountability, and chaired its subcommittee on national security. He also served on the Foreign Affairs Committee, Judiciary Committee, and the Republican Study Committee, along with several subcommittees of those. On January 5, 2018, DeSantis filed to run for the office of governor to replace term-limited Republican incumbent Rick Scott. President Trump had said the previous month that he would support DeSantis should he run for governor. During the Republican primary, DeSantis emphasized his support for Trump by running an ad in which DeSantis taught his children how to build the wall and say "Make America Great Again." Asked whether he could name an issue on which he disagreed with Trump, DeSantis declined. On August 28, 2018, DeSantis won the Republican primary, defeating his main opponent, Adam Putnam. DeSantis's gubernatorial platform included support for legislation that would allow people with concealed weapons permits to carry firearms openly. He also supported a law mandating the use of e-verify by businesses and a state-level ban on sanctuary city protections for undocumented immigrants. DeSantis promised to stop the spread of polluted water from Lake Okeechobee. He expressed support for a state constitutional amendment to require a supermajority vote for any tax increases. DeSantis opposed allowing able-bodied, childless adults to receive Medicaid. He said he would implement a medical cannabis program, while opposing the legalization of recreational cannabis. The day after his primary win, in a televised Fox News interview, DeSantis said, "The last thing we need to do is to monkey this up by trying to embrace a socialist agenda with huge tax increases and bankrupting the state." His use of the word monkey received widespread media attention, and was interpreted by some, including Florida Democratic Party Chair Terry Rizzo, as a racist dog whistle alluding to the Democratic gubernatorial nominee, Andrew Gillum, who is African American. DeSantis denied the racism charge. Dexter Filkins, writing in The New Yorker in 2022, called it a disastrous gaffe, and quoted an unnamed ally of DeSantis lamenting that afterward, "We were handling Gillum with kid gloves. We can't hit the guy, because we're trying to defend the fact that we're not racist." The general election was widely seen as a toss-up. Some sheriffs endorsed DeSantis, while other sheriffs backed Gillum. DeSantis was endorsed by the Florida Police Chiefs Association. On September 5, he announced State Representative Jeanette Nunez as his running mate. He resigned his House seat on September 10 to focus on his gubernatorial campaign. The same month, he canceled a planned interview with the Tampa Bay Times to have additional time to put together a platform before an in-depth policy interview. On election night, initial results had DeSantis winning, and so Gillum conceded. Gillum rescinded his concession when the margin narrowed to 0.4%, and an automatic machine recount began with a November 15 deadline. Although 3 counties missed the deadline, it was not extended. DeSantis was confirmed as the winner and Gillum conceded on November 17. I stop at this point today. We continue to narrate a stage in the life of the candidate for Ron DeSantis. Soon we will publish Part 2. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and keep exploring the world's incredible stories. Thank you for watching.